The world slows down when the sun retreats. Shadows stretch across the ground, softening the sharp edges of the day, and the noise of the waking hours fades into a steady, rhythmic silence. In this quiet space, history is not a list of dates or battles, but a collection of memories drifting through the dark, waiting to be remembered. It is a time to listen, to rest, and to let the currents of the past carry you away. Welcome. If you are listening to this, you may already be in bed, the lights dimmed, your eyes closed. You are in a safe place, a place of stillness. Let your breathing slow down. Let your shoulders drop. There is nothing you need to do right now, nothing you need to solve. If you find peace in these stories, you might gently leave a like or subscribe to this channel, joining others who seek this same quiet refuge. But for now, simply let go. Let the present moment dissolve, and let us drift back together across the centuries. The river of time carries us first to the ancient stones of Rome. It is a city of white marble and long shadows, a place where order is cherished above all else. In the Roman mind, the world is a chaotic storm, and civilization is the shelter built to keep it out. Here, even the colors you wear tell a story of authority. Imagine a purple robe, deep and rich, the color of a bruised twilight. This hue is not merely a dye, it is a warning. Harvested from thousands of tiny sea creatures, the process is slow, the cost immense. To wear this color is to claim the power of the empire itself. For anyone else, it is forbidden. The state watches the streets, ensuring that hierarchy remains visible, that no one forgets their place in the vast stone machinery of the city. In this ancient city, silence is a form of discipline. Even grief, the most human of emotions, is measured. When a loved one passes, the tears must not be too loud, the wailing not too wild. The Romans fear that unchecked emotion is like a spark in a dry field, capable of burning down the order they have worked so hard to build. And so mourning is quieted, regulated, kept behind the thick walls of the home. The father, the head of the household, stands as a king within his own walls. His word is law, his protection absolute. He is the anchor in a world that fears the drift. As the sun sets over the 7 hills, the city locks itself away. The night is not for wandering. The streets are dark, winding, and uncertain. To walk abroad after dark is to invite suspicion, for the Romans believed that good citizens belong indoors, safe by the hearth. The dark is for the unpredictable, and Rome has no patience for the unpredictable. Even the food on the table, the guests at the banquet, are subject to the watchful eye of the law. Excess is dangerous, restraint is survival. And so the empire sleeps, wrapped in a blanket of rules, believing that if every stone, every person, and every moment is controlled, the chaos will never come inside. We leave the structured stones of Rome and drift forward into the gray mist of the 19th century, to a small village in the Netherlands. Here, a man named Vincent is born into a world that feels too small for the vastness of his feelings. He is a quiet child, watching the heather on the moors, noticing the way the light catches the damp earth. He tries to fit into the shapes the world offers him, a dealer of art, a preacher of the gospel, but the edges are too sharp, and he does not fit. He walks through the coal dust of mining towns, his heart heavy with a compassion he cannot explain, searching for a way to speak the language of his own soul. He travels south, chasing the sun. In the warmth of France, the gray lifts. The world explodes into color. Yellow is no longer just a color. It is a sensation, a burning heat that fills his chest. Blue is not just the sky. It is the infinite depth of the universe. He paints not what he sees, but what he feels. The cypress trees are not still. They are flames of green rising toward the stars. The night sky is not a black void. It is a swirling river of light, moving, breathing, alive. He lives in a yellow house, dreaming of a brotherhood of artists, a place where the loneliness of the human condition can be cured by paint and canvas. But the mind is a fragile vessel for such intensity. The sun that illuminates his work also scorches his spirit. He enters the quiet stone halls of an asylum, seeking rest. From behind the iron bars of his window, he watches the wheat fields bend in the wind. He paints the silence of the garden, the gnarled roots of the olive trees, the enduring patience of the earth. His brushstrokes are thick, rhythmic, like the beating of a heart. He creates beauty not because he is happy, but because he must. It is his way of touching a world that feels so far away. And when the end comes, it is quiet. He walks out into the fields he loved, under the vast sky, and lays his burden down. The sadness remains, but so does the light. The wind shifts, carrying us across the ocean to a humid city where the river meets the sea. New Orleans is a place where the air hangs heavy and warm, and the sound of drums echoes from a dusty square called Congo. Here, people who have lost their names and their homes find each other in the rhythm. They bring the memories of Africa, the melodies of Europe, and the sorrows of the New World, and they weave them together. It is a sound born of survival. In the streets, brass bands march for funerals, playing slow, mournful dirges on the way to the grave, and joyous, tumbling melodies on the way back. Life and death dance together in the heat. This music has no script. It is a conversation. A trumpet calls out, bold and bright, and a clarinet answers, weaving around the melody like a vine. A trombone slides beneath them, grounding the sound in the earth. This is jazz, though it does not yet have a name. It is the sound of freedom in a place where freedom is scarce. It travels up the great river, moving north to the smoky clubs of Chicago and the ballrooms of Harlem. It changes as it moves, becoming faster, sharper, more sophisticated. Men with horns and women with voices like velvet tell stories without words. They take the pain of the day and spin it into gold. They improvise, inventing the future one note at a time. The music swings, it breathes, it refuses to stand still. It is a living thing, proving that even in the darkest times, the human spirit can create something that soars. It is a reminder that there is always a new way to say what is in your heart, if only you are brave enough to play it. Finally, the music fades, and we find ourselves in the quiet, wooded hills of Pennsylvania in the early days of a new nation. The air is crisp, smelling of pine and damp earth. Scattered cabins cling to the hillsides, home to farmers who work the land with calloused hands. Money is rare here. What matters is what you can grow, what you can make, and what you can trade. And what they make is whiskey. It is liquid currency, easier to carry over the mountains than bushels of grain, a way to store the harvest against the coming winter. But far away, in a city of brick and parchment, men in powdered wigs write a law. They place a tax on this water of life, a demand for coin that the farmers do not have. To the men of the hills, this feels like a betrayal. They fought a revolution to be free of distant tyrants, and now the hand of the state reaches into their pockets again. They gather in taverns and clearings, their voices low and angry. They refuse to pay. They turn away the collectors. The spirit of resistance burns as hot as the fires in their stills. The president, a man who once led armies for liberty, now rides west to enforce the law. It is a strange and solemn sight, the father of the country marching against his own children. But he does not come to destroy. He comes to show that the republic is real, that the laws made on parchment have weight in the mud of the frontier. The army is vast, a wall of blue coats moving through the autumn trees. The rebellion dissolves, not in blood, but in the realization that the world has changed. The farmers return to their plows. The soldiers return to their homes. The new nation has learned a hard lesson about the balance of freedom and order. And now the history books close. The figures of the past, the senators in their purple robes, the painter in the wheat field, the trumpet player on the corner, the farmer in the hills, they all fade back into the mist. They have played their parts. The echoes of their lives linger for a moment, then settle into silence. The night is fully here now. The world is still. The past is a dream, and the future is waiting for the sun. But you are here, in the gentle dark, safe and at rest. Let the stories go. Let the quiet wrap around you like a warm blanket. Sleep is the only journey left to take. Good night. The silence after a story is not empty. It is a deep, resonant space where the echoes of what has passed linger for a moment before dissolving into the dark. The trees of the western frontier stand tall and silent now, their branches still against the starlit sky. The heavy boots of the militia have long since marched away, leaving only the soft imprint of history in the soil. Under the canopy of pine and oak, the air grows cool, settling into the hollows of the hills. The fires of the distillers have burned down to gray ash, and the copper stills are cold to the touch. Here, in the deep woods, the arguments of men dissolve into the simple, ancient language of the forest. The wind moves through the branches, a slow and steady breath that has not changed since the first seed took root. It whispers of old winters and coming springs, indifferent to the laws written on parchment, concerned only with the quiet, rhythmic turning of the earth. Far to the south, the great river continues its endless journey to the sea. It flows past the sleeping city, past the squares where drums once beat in the heavy afternoon heat. The water is dark and smooth, reflecting the scattered light of the moon. It holds the memory of every song ever played on its banks, carrying the blue notes and the brassy triumphs down toward the delta. The The jazz has quieted for the night, leaving the humid air to rest. The streets are empty, save for the shadows that stretch and fade with the passing clouds. There is a peace here, a heavy, warm stillness that wraps around the buildings like a velvet cloak. The urgency of the music has given way to the steady, unhurried pulse of the water, moving relentlessly, patiently toward the open ocean. Across the ocean, the wheat fields of France lie still under the vast turning sky. The golden stalks are motionless, waiting for the sun that is hours away. Above them, the stars burn with a quiet intensity, the same swirling light that a lonely painter once tried to capture. The yellow house is dark, the canvas is dry, but the night itself is alive with a silent energy, a deep blue vastness that covers the sleeping villages and the open country. The crows are roosting in the trees, their wings folded, their cries silenced by the night. There is no torment here now, only the peaceful, heavy slumber of the countryside, resting after the heat of the day. The earth smells of damp soil and drying hay, a scent that speaks of seasons ending and beginning again in the dark. And further back, deeper into the well of time, the white stones of Rome glow softly in the moonlight. The Forum is empty. The great pillars, which once echoed with the shouts of senators and the footsteps of crowds, now stand as silent sentinels. The laws of the day have no power here in the dark. The strict order of the toga and the tribunal has vanished, leaving only the stone and the shadows. Moss grows quietly in the cracks of the marble, soft and green against the cold white rock. Time has softened the sharp edges of the city, turning the grand ambition of the past into a peaceful garden of ruins. The 7 hills sleep under the same moon that watched the empire rise and will watch it slowly, gently turn to dust. All these places, separated by miles and centuries, are united now by the blanket of the night. The stillness that rests over the Pennsylvania woods is the same stillness that fills the streets of New Orleans, the same quiet that settles over the French fields and the Roman stones. The noise of history has faded. The struggles and the triumphs, the laws and the songs, they have all drifted into the distance. What remains is the earth, turning slowly in the dark. What remains is the rhythm of sleep, rising like a tide to cover the world. The shadows lengthen, connecting the past to the present, wrapping everything in a soft gray haze. There is a comfort in this continuity. The river flows, the stars turn, the stones endure. You are part of this long, slow breath of the world. The demands of the day have no place here. They are far away, left behind on the other side of the sunset. Here, there is only the rise and fall of your own breathing, matching the rhythm of the wind in the trees and the water in the river. The darkness is not empty, it is full of rest. It supports you, holds you, and invites you to let go completely. As the night deepens, the boundaries of time seem to dissolve. The painter, the soldier, The musician and the senator are all at rest. Their stories have become part of the silence, woven into the fabric of the night. You are drifting with them, floating on a stream that moves gently toward a deep and dreamless sleep. The air is cool and still. The world is safe. There is nothing left to do but close your eyes and let the current carry you down into the quiet, down into the dark, down into the peace of the ages.
The earth beneath the trees is cool and damp. Deep underground, the roots of the great oaks hold fast to the soil, anchoring the world in place while the winds pass high above. In the Pennsylvania hills, the seasons are changing slowly, turning the green leaves to brown, preparing the forest for the long, deep sleep of winter. There is a scent of pine resin and fallen leaves in the air, a perfume of endings that feels sweet and heavy. The conflict that once moved through these woods has dissolved into the mist. Now there is only the sound of a small creek trickling over smooth stones, a continuous, gentle murmur that never ceases. It speaks of patience. It speaks of time flowing like water, washing away the footprints of men until the path is wild again. Inside the rough-hewn cabins scattered across the frontier, the firelight has dimmed to a faint, pulsing glow. The embers breathe in the hearth, casting long, soft shadows against the log walls. A simple wooden chair sits empty. A tool for the harvest leans in the corner, its work done for the day. There is a profound stillness in these rooms, a sense of safety reclaimed from the uncertainty of the world. The heavy quilts are pulled up, warm and thick. The breathing of the sleepers is slow and rhythmic, matching the quiet pulse of the house itself. The wood of the walls settles with a soft creak, adjusting to the cool of the night, a familiar sound that says the shelter holds strong. This quiet stretches out from the hills, following the rivers down toward the coast, widening as it meets the sea. The ocean is a vast, breathing presence in the dark. Far from the shore, the waves rise and fall with a slow, hypnotic motion that has continued since the beginning of time. There is no land here to break the wind, only the open water reflecting the scatter of stars. A ship might be drifting somewhere in that immense distance, its sails furled, rocking gently in the trough of a swell. The horizon is lost in the darkness. There is no line between the sea and the sky, just one endless expanse of deep, velvety blue. The salt air is cold and clean, clearing the mind, washing away the dust of history. On the far side of that water, the ancient stones of Europe wait in the silence. The Roman roads, straight and true, are empty now. They stretch across the landscape like pale ribbons under the moonlight. These stones have known the tread of legions and the wheels of carts, but tonight they know only the dew that gathers on their surface. The moss is soft and cool against the hard rock. In the ruins of old temples, the shadows are deep and protective. A breeze stirs the wild grass growing between the fallen pillars, a soft rustling sound that weaves through the broken arches. The marble is cold to the touch, holding the chill of the night, standing firm while the centuries flow around it like a river around a stone. In the quiet fields of Provence, the night is alive with color that eyes cannot see in the dark. The sunflowers bow their heavy heads, waiting for the morning warmth.
The olive trees twist their silver branches toward the moon, ancient and gnarled, witnesses to the silent passage of the stars. The air here smells of dry grass and lavender, a soothing herbal scent that lingers in the stillness. The village streets are deserted, the shutters closed against the night. Behind those windows, dreams are unfolding, colorful and strange, echoing the visions of the painter who once walked these cobbles. The urgency of creation has passed. The paint is dry, the canvas is still. All that remains is the beauty of the world resting in the dark. This stillness is a heavy, comfortable blanket. It covers the forests and the cities, the oceans and the fields. It is the same silence, deeper than any language. The world has stopped its spinning just for you. The gravity of the earth feels gentle, holding you down, grounding you in this moment of pure rest. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. The past is a distant memory, a story told in a whisper. The future is a shore you have not yet reached. You are floating in the space between, suspended in the calm, dark water of the now. The silence wraps around you layer by layer, soft and impenetrable. Everything is slow. Everything is safe. The night stretches on, endless and kind.
In the southern city near the delta, the air hangs thick and still. The humidity has settled over the streets like a warm, heavy quilt, muffling the distant sounds of the river. The wooden shutters of the tall houses are drawn tight against the night. Inside the dance halls that once pulsed with rhythm, the floorboards are silent. The dust motes settle slowly in the dark, drifting down to rest on the empty chairs. The brass trumpets lie sleeping in their velvet-lined cases, their golden metal cool and dark. The music has evaporated, leaving only the deep, resonant hum of the night itself. It is a sound of crickets, of distant water, of the earth breathing in the heat and exhaling it slowly back into the dark. The fog begins to roll off the great river, moving in soft, gray waves. It curls around the iron lampposts and drifts through the narrow alleyways. It softens the hard angles of the buildings, turning the city into a place of ghosts and shadows. The water of the Mississippi is wide and dark, moving with a strength that does not need to be seen. It carries the memory of the rain from the north, sliding past the sleeping levees, heading toward the infinite patience of the sea. There is no hurry in the water. It knows where it is going. It has made this journey 1,000,000 times before, under the same moon, through the same silence. Far away, in the ancient capital of the empire, the Tiber River answers with its own quiet murmur. The water laps gently against the stone pilings of the bridges, a rhythmic, soothing sound that echoes off the curved arches. The city of Rome is a landscape of grays and whites in the moonlight. The frantic energy of the day has been drained away. The Senate House is empty. The seats of power are cold. The statues that line the rooftops look out over the sleeping city with blank marble eyes. They do not blink. They do not judge. They simply stand, enduring the passage of the hours with the indifference of stone. In the courtyards of the great villas, the fountains continue to play. The water rises and falls in a silver arc, splashing into the basin below. It is a lonely, beautiful sound, a song sung for no one but the night. The gardens are still. The cypress trees stand like dark flames against the pale sky, motionless in the calm air.
The scent of rosemary and cold stone lingers in the shadows. Here, the centuries feel thin, as if the past is just resting on the other side of a curtain. The silence is not empty. It is filled with the weight of time, heavy and peaceful, pressing down on the ancient earth. The wind shifts again, carrying the scent of dry wheat and oil paint. In the French countryside, the stars seem to burn brighter, whirling in the deep blue vastness above. The village church tower stands distinct and sharp against the horizon, its clock hands moving imperceptibly. The windows of the asylum are dark, the corridors are quiet. The stone walls hold the cool of the night, insulating the sleepers from the outside world. Outside, the olive groves are a sea of silver and gray, the leaves whispering together with a dry, rustling sound. The roots of the trees twist deep into the rocky soil, finding water in the dark, holding on through the long, silent hours. This darkness is a shared ocean. It laps at the shores of the past and the present equally. The quiet that fills the olive grove is the same quiet that rests over the Pennsylvania woods. The whiskey stills are cold, the fires are out, the smoke has dissipated into the clear, sharp air. The leaves on the forest floor are damp with dew, softening the ground. A heavy branch settles with a slow creak. An owl calls out, a low, mournful note that drifts through the trees and fades into nothing. The wilderness is asleep, wrapped in the safety of the shadows. You are drifting through these places, weightless and free. The ground beneath you feels solid and sure. The air around you is still. The rhythm of the world has slowed down to match the beating of your own heart. There is a profound sense of distance here, a separation from the noise and the light. The problems of the waking world are small and far away, lost in the vastness of the landscape. You are part of the quiet. You are part of the stone and the water and the wind. The night holds you in its cupped hands, protecting you, keeping the watch while you rest. The darkness deepens, velvety and soft, stretching out in every direction, endless and serene.
It is a silence that feels ancient, older than the cities and the forests that rest beneath it. High above the sleeping earth, the constellations turn in their slow, grand wheel. They look down on the Pennsylvania hills and the Roman ruins with the same cold, bright gaze. There is no hurry in their movement. They mark the passage of centuries as if they were seconds. The light that reaches your eyes now left those stars long before the marble was cut or the canvas was painted. It is old light. It is quiet light. It travels through the vast, cold emptiness of space to land gently on the closed eyelids of the world. The distance is immense, yet the connection feels intimate. You are watching the same sky that watched the legions march and the farmers sleep. Down in the delta, the fog has thickened, blurring the line between the river and the air. It wraps around the hulls of the riverboats docked at the landing, softening their wooden outlines into gray shapes. The wood is damp and swollen with the river water. A rope creaks against a piling, a slow, rhythmic sound, like a wooden metronome set to the slowest possible tempo. The brass instruments in the city are silent, tucked away in their cases, but the air still holds the memory of the vibration. The heat of the day has finally broken, leaving behind a cool, heavy stillness that smells of wet earth and sweet jasmine blooming in the dark gardens. The flowers open their petals to the moon,
releasing their scent into the empty streets, a perfume meant only for the night. The wind that stirs the jasmine also moves across the wheat fields in France, thousands of miles away. It ripples through the grain, creating waves that look like a golden sea in the moonlight. The crows are asleep in the cypress trees, black shapes huddled against the deep blue of the branches. The yellow house stands silent at the edge of the square. The paint on the walls is cool now. The intense burning energy of the sun is gone, replaced by the soothing, cooling touch of the night. The village is a cluster of dark roofs, huddled together for comfort. There is no sound but the wind in the eaves, a soft whistling lullaby that has been sung in this valley for 1,000 years. The earth here feels tired, resting after the labor of growth, sinking deeper into the soil. In Rome, the shadows have lengthened until they cover everything in a soft gray shroud. The Forum is a landscape of ghosts. The broken columns stand like fingers pointing at the sky, white bone against the dark velvet of the night. The marble is smooth and cold to the touch. It remembers the heat of the noon sun and the weight of the history it carries. But tonight it carries nothing. It simply exists. The cats that roam the ruins walk on padded feet, making no sound as they slip between the stones. They are the guardians of the silence, watching the moon climb higher over the great amphitheater. The dust of the ages settles on the stones, soft as snow, muffling the footsteps of time. Back in the western woods, the fire in the cabin has burned down to the last glowing coal. The warmth lingers in the stones of the hearth, radiating slowly outward into the room. The smell of wood smoke is faint and comforting, a scent that speaks of shelter and safety. Outside, the forest is a wall of black and gray. The trees stand shoulder to shoulder, their branches interlocked like a fortress. They protect the sleeping cabin from the wind. The creek continues its journey over the stones, a ceaseless, gentle murmuring that lulls the land to sleep. The rebellion is over. The arguments are finished. There is only the peace of the woods, deep and abiding, absorbing every sound into the damp moss. You are floating above it all, weightless and unburdened. The distance softens every sound, turning the world into a hushed whisper. Time dilates, stretching out until a minute feels like an hour. You are safe in this vast, quiet space. The darkness is not empty, it is a presence holding you up. It wraps around you like the fog on the river, like the wind in the wheat, like the shadows in the ruins. It is a blanket of peace. The rhythm of the earth is slow and steady. The beat of the ocean, the turn of the stars, the flow of the river, they are all moving in time with your breathing. Slow, deep, calm. The night stretches on, a horizon that never ends, inviting you to drift further into the quiet. There is a deep, resonant calm that settles into the earth when the wind finally dies down. It is a heaviness that feels grounding, like a hand resting gently on a shoulder. In the Pennsylvania woods, the stillness has seeped into the very grain of the timber. The rough logs of the cabins are cool and damp, absorbing the moisture of the night air. The iron tools leaning against the barn walls are cold, their metal surfaces gathering dew in the darkness. The work of the day is forgotten. The handle of the axe, the rim of the wheel, the plowshare in the field, they have all lost their purpose for now. They are merely shapes in the gloom, resting objects in a resting world. The forest around them breathes slowly. The sap moves sluggishly in the trunks of the pines, a slow, hidden pulse that keeps time with the turning of the earth. Drifting south, the air grows heavier, laden with the moisture of the great river. The Mississippi is a dark, moving mirror, reflecting nothing but the void above. Along the banks, the weeping willows dip their long, trailing branches into the water. They sway imperceptibly, touching the surface with a soft, brushing sound that is barely audible. The mud of the riverbank is thick and cool. It holds the imprint of the day's heat deep beneath the surface, but the top layer is cold now. The city streets are slick with condensation. The iron balconies of the French Quarter cast intricate lace-like shadows on the pavement. The shadows do not move. They are fixed in place, intricate patterns of black and gray that wait patiently for the dawn to erase them. In the quiet room of the yellow house in France, the smell of turpentine and dried lavender hangs in the air. The wooden floorboards are worn smooth, bearing the memory of pacing feet. But there is no pacing now. The chair is empty, pushed back from the table. The bed is a soft island in the center of the room. On the easel, a canvas sits in the dark. The colors are muted by the lack of light, the vibrant yellows and deep blues turning into shades of charcoal and slate. The texture of the paint is rough, ridges of dried oil that catch the faint moonlight filtering through the shutters. The energy of the brushstrokes is frozen in time. The storm of creation has passed, leaving behind only the artifact, resting in the silence of the studio. The silence stretches back across the centuries to the stone-paved roads of the empire. The dust on the Appian Way is cool and pale. These stones have been polished by millions of footsteps, worn smooth by the passage of legions and travelers. Now they lie empty under the moon. The cypress trees that line the road stand like sentinels, tall and black against the indigo sky. They do not rustle, they do not bend. They watch over the tombs and the fields with a solemn, ancient patience. The air here is dry and clear, smelling of crumbled stone and dry grass. It is the scent of history, odorless and pure, preserved in the cool vacuum of the night. Far beneath the surface of the ocean, below the waves that rock the imaginary ships, the water is perfectly still. There is no light here. There is no sound. There is only the immense crushing weight of the sea, holding everything down in a permanent embrace. It is a place of absolute peace, untouched by the storms that rage above. This deep oceanic calm is the foundation of the night. It supports the continents, it cradles the islands, it connects the river delta to the rocky coast of Europe. You are floating on the surface of this depth, supported by miles of quiet water. The motion is gentle, a slow, rocking lullaby that has no beginning and no end. The boundaries of the world are soft now. The horizon is gone. There is only the feeling of being held. The darkness is a warm coat, wrapped tight against the chill. The silence is a song with no notes, a hum that vibrates in the chest. You are safe here. The history of the world is sleeping. The arguments are over. The art is finished. The journey is paused. There is only this moment, stretching out forever in the dark. The peace is absolute. The rest is deep. The night is yours.
The light of the moon is a cold silver liquid that pours over the sleeping world. It has no warmth, only a clarity that reveals the texture of the night. In the deep woods of the frontier, the frost begins to settle on the fallen leaves. It forms a delicate crystalline lace over the brown earth, crunching softly under the weight of the smallest creature. The air is sharp and clean. It tastes of winter approaching, a crispness that clears the lungs and slows the blood. The log cabins are dark mounds against the tree line. The chimneys have stopped smoking, the fires banked deep within the ash. Inside, the heavy wool blankets are pulled high. The sleep of the farmers is deep and dreamless, earned by the labor of the harvest. They are anchored to the land, heavy and still, while the earth turns beneath them. Far to the south, the fog on the river has become a wall of white. It hides the water from the shore, turning the world into a place of limited vision and infinite sound. The river laps against the wooden pilings of the levee, a rhythmic, hollow thudding that echoes in the mist. The damp wood smells of mud and old rain. The iron gates of the city are locked tight. The courtyards are secret gardens, hidden away from the streets. Inside them, the ferns uncurl slowly in the humid dark. The water in the cisterns is black and still, holding the reflection of the moon on its surface like a silver coin. The city is a labyrinth of shadows, a place where the air itself feels heavy and slow, pressing gently against the skin. Across the sea, the Roman aqueducts march across the darkened plains. They are giant stone skeletons, carrying water from the distant hills to the sleeping city. The water flows through the high stone channels with a soft, rushing sound, a continuous song of movement in the dark. It passes over the arches, high above the fields where the sheep are huddled together for warmth. The stone is cold and rough, pitted by the centuries. The shadows of the arches stretch out long and thin across the grass, moving imperceptibly as the moon crosses the sky. The city awaits the water, thirsty and silent. The bathhouses are empty. The pools are still. The steam has vanished, leaving only the cool, damp tiles to reflect the starlight. In the valley in France, the soil is dry and crumbly. The roots of the wheat go deep, searching for moisture in the chalky earth. The stalks are brittle and gold, rustling together when the wind sighs. The sound is like dry paper rubbing together, a whisper of the harvest that is yet to come. The yellow house is silent. The window is a dark square. Inside, the smell of paint has settled, mixing with the scent of old wood and pipe tobacco. The brushes are clean, standing in their jar like a small forest of wood and bristle. They are waiting. The canvas is waiting, but for now, there is only the pause. The blue night presses against the glass, vast and indifferent, a sea of stars that drowns out the small concerns of the day. This silence is not empty space, it is a substance. It fills the room where you lie, heavy and soft. It settles in the corners and gathers under the furniture. It muffles the sounds of the outside world until they are nothing but a faint memory. You are insulated. You are protected. The gravity of the earth pulls you down gently, sinking you into the mattress, sinking you into the moment. The rhythm of your breathing is the only clock that matters. In and out, slow
and steady. The world is vast, and you are small, and in that smallness there is infinite peace. The night holds you, the darkness covers you. The silence is a deep, cool river, and you are drifting on its current, moving slowly, effortlessly, toward the center of the quiet. The current carries you deeper, past the surface of things, into the heavy, grounding stillness of the earth itself. In the Pennsylvania hills, the frost has now formed a complete silver skin over the fallen logs. It coats the iron rim of the wagon wheel leaning against the barn, turning the metal white and cold. The iron does not shiver. It accepts the cold with the patience of an object that has outlasted the hands that forged it. The ground is hard now, freezing slowly under the starlight. Deep within the soil, the seeds of the next harvest lie dormant, curled in on themselves, waiting for a spring that is months away. There is no rush in the dark. The earth knows only the slow, rhythmic cycle of sleep and waking, and tonight is for sleeping. The wind has dropped completely, leaving the pine branches motionless against the sky, dark fingers pointing toward the infinite. Southward, the humidity of the delta has turned into a heavy dew that drips from the wrought iron balconies. The drops fall one by one to the pavement, a slow, irregular ticking that marks the passage of the night. The stone banquettes are slick and black, reflecting the dim glow of the gas lamps that flicker in the fog. The light is soft and yellow, struggling to push back the gray mist. It illuminates nothing but the swirling air. The jazz clubs are shuttered tight. The wooden doors are swollen with dampness, sealing in the silence. Inside, the air is still stale with the memory of tobacco and perfume, but the energy has settled. The piano keys are cold ivory, silent and waiting. The brass of the trumpet is dull in the dark, its voice quieted, resting in the velvet darkness of its case. The city sleeps under a blanket of water and air, heavy, warm, and slow. In the ancient heart of Rome, the moon has moved higher, casting short, sharp shadows behind the columns of the temple. The marble steps are cool and smooth, polished by the wind. A stray breeze moves through the forum, kicking up a small puff of dust that hangs for a moment in the moonlight before settling back to the ground. The city is a landscape of stone and silence. The statues of the emperor stand in their niches, staring out at a city that has changed 1,000 times while they remained the same. Their stone eyes see only the night. The fountains in the plazas have been turned off, the water stilled. The basins are calm mirrors holding the reflection of the constellations. The silence here is heavy with history, a weight that presses down on the rooftops and the paved streets, sealing the past into the stone. The wind in the French Valley is a soft exhale, moving through the olive groves with a dry, rustling sound. The leaves turn their silver undersides to the moon, shivering once before becoming still again. The yellow house is a dark shape against the starry sky. The shutters are closed, bearing the night from the room where the painter once dreamed. The smell of turpentine is faint now, overpowered by the scent of the dry earth and the night-blooming flowers. The wheat fields are a sea of pale gold, motionless in the dark. The energy that twists through the daylight hours has uncoiled. The landscape is resting. The twisted roots of the olive trees grip the rocky soil, holding fast, drinking in the cool of the night. The stars above are not frantic swirls of light, but distant, steady beacons watching over the sleeping world with a cold, bright detachment. You are drifting through these spaces, a ghost in the landscape of time. The cold of the Pennsylvania iron, the damp of the New Orleans stone, the smooth marble of Rome, the dry wheat of France, they are all textures in the dark. You can feel the weight of them, the solidity of the world resting around you. The darkness is a soft, heavy coat that wraps you in warmth. It separates you from the noise. It separates you from the light. There is only the rhythm of the earth, slow and deep. It beats in the ground, in the water, in the air. It beats in your own chest. You are safe here, held in the cupped hands of the night. The silence is complete. The rest is absolute. The journey continues, drifting deeper, slower, into the heart of the quiet.
The stillness is a vast, invisible ocean, and you are resting on its floor. Far above, the sky continues its slow, majestic rotation, a clock face with stars for numbers that counts a time older than humanity. In the Pennsylvania wilderness, the cold has deepened, penetrating the bark of the hemlocks and the heartwood of the oaks. The sap within the trees has stopped moving, suspended in the chill, waiting for a warmth that is miles of time away. The frost on the cabin window is a map of a country that does not exist, a landscape of fern-like ice crystals growing slowly across the glass. Inside, the embers in the hearth have turned from red to a dull, dusty gray. The heat they hold is fading, retreating into the stone of the chimney. The room is quiet, settled, and safe. The only sound is the settling of the heavy timber walls, a low groan of wood adjusting to the cold, a sound that speaks of shelter and endurance. Drifting down the curve of the earth, the heavy air of the delta wraps the city in a soft, damp embrace. The fog has swallowed the street lamps, turning them into faint, glowing bruises in the mist. The river is silent now, its surface smooth as oil, sliding past the sleeping levees without a whisper. The water is deep and dark, holding the secrets of the continent in its current. On the balconies, the iron railings differ in temperature from the humid air, gathering moisture that slickens the metal. The city feels submerged, a place existing at the bottom of a sea of air. The jazz is gone. The rhythm has stopped. There is only the slow hydraulic pulse of the water pushing against the land, a heartbeat so slow it can only be felt, not heard. Across the Atlantic, the Roman night is dry and clear. The shadows in the Colosseum are deep pools of ink, impenetrable and still. The stone arches frame the stars, capturing small squares of the infinite universe. The marble floor of the Forum is cool, radiating the cold of the earth up into the air. The stray cats have found shelter in the nooks of the ruins, curled into balls of warmth, sleeping with one ear turned toward the silence. The city is a graveyard of empires, but tonight
It is just a collection of stone and shadow resting under the same moon that shone on the Caesars. The wind is absent, the dust lies still. The history is heavy, anchoring the city to the ground, holding it fast against the turning of the world. In the rolling fields of Provence, the night has drained the color from the world. The sunflowers are bowed heads of dark velvet. The wheat is a sea of gray straw. The yellow house is a silhouette, a darker shape against the dark sky. The room where the painter slept is quiet, the air still and cool. The smell of the fields drifts in through the cracks in the shutters, a scent of dry earth and ripening grain. The creative fire has banked down. The urgency of the vision has dissolved into the peace of the night. The olive trees in the garden stand like twisted sculptures, their silver leaves motionless. They are drinking in the darkness, gathering strength from the silence. The earth here feels old and patient, a soil that has known 1,000 harvests and will know 1,000 more. You are woven into this tapestry of silence, the cold of the iron, the damp of the river, the dry stone of the ruin, the scent of the wheat. They are all around you, grounding you in the physical world while your mind drifts free. The darkness is not a barrier, it is a medium. It carries you effortlessly. The gravity feels gentle, a soft pressure that keeps you safe, that tells you there is nowhere else you need to go. The horizon is gone. The destination is forgotten. There is only the slow, steady breathing of the world, rising and falling, in and out. You are part of that breath. You are part of the quiet. The night stretches on, infinite and kind, a deep, soft space where everything is at rest.
The quiet is a physical weight, settling like a fine dust over the motionless world. It presses down gently on the roof of the Pennsylvania cabin, sealing the occupants inside their sanctuary of logs and clay. The breathing of the sleepers is slow and deep, a soft rhythm that rises and falls in the darkness. It matches the settling of the house itself. Every few hours, a timber groans softly, a sound of wood contracting in the deepening cold. The warmth of the hearth has retreated into the iron of the andirons and the stone of the chimney base. The air in the room is cooling, growing crisp and still. Outside, the wilderness stretches away in every direction, a vast ocean of trees that have stopped their swaying. The pine needles are frozen in place. The owls have fallen silent. The forest is waiting, held in the long, cold pause between the hours of the night. Far to the south, the fog has erased the horizon completely. The river and the sky have merged into a single gray expanse. The Mississippi moves through this void with a heavy, silent power. It pushes against the muddy banks, sliding past the roots of the cypress trees that stand knee-deep in the water. The dampness has soaked into everything. The wooden planks of the dock are dark and swollen. The ropes holding the boats are heavy with moisture. In the city, the iron gates are slick to the touch. The brick walls of the courtyards radiate the day's heat back into the mist, creating pockets of warmth that smell of old mortar and damp earth. The silence here is thick and muffled, wrapped in layers of water vapor. It is a comforting and closing silence, like being underwater,
protected from the sharp edges of the world above. Across the ocean, the Roman night is dry and vast. The air is clear, allowing the starlight to touch the ancient stones with a cold silver precision. The paving stones of the Appian Way are pale ribbons stretching into the darkness. They are cool and smooth, polished by the passage of time. The grass growing between them is still, untouched by any wind. The tombs that line the road are shadows within shadows, stone houses for those who have slept for centuries. The city walls loom in the distance, dark ramparts against the star field. There is no sound of wheels, no sound of sandals. The empire has stopped its marching. The legions are ghosts. The only movement is the slow drift of the moon across the sky, painting the ruins in shifting shades of gray and black. In the quiet valley of Provence, the earth is resting after the heat of the summer sun. The soil is dry and chalky, crumbling softly under the weight of the night. The wheat fields are vast and still, a blanket of pale gold that covers the hills. The stalks do not rustle. They stand straight and silent, waiting for the dew to gather on their heads. The olive trees in the garden are twisted shapes of silver and black. Their roots go deep into the rock, anchoring them against the turning of the world. The air smells of dried herbs, thyme, lavender, and sage, a scent that is released by the cooling earth. The yellow house is asleep. The windows are dark eyes that see nothing. The turbulence of the day, the intensity of the color, has been washed away by the blue tide of the night. You are drifting on this tide, supported by the silence of the ages. The cold of the forest, the damp of the river, the stone of the road, the scent of the herbs, they are all present in the dark. You can feel the texture of the night, smooth and heavy. The gravity is gentle, holding you down, keeping you safe. There is no need to move. There is no need to speak. The world is turning slowly, carrying you through the shadows. The past is a quiet memory. The future is a distant shore. You are here in the deep, calm center of the now. The night stretches on, endless and peaceful, a soft, dark space where you can rest. In this deep, soft space, the hours lose their meaning. Time is no longer measured by the ticking of a clock or the movement of the sun. It is measured only by the slow, creeping accumulation of frost on the window pane. In the Pennsylvania hills, the temperature has dropped further, locking the landscape in a grip of crystal and ice. The creek that runs behind the cabin has slowed to a crawl, its edges crusted with white lace. Under the ice, the water moves in secret, a dark fluid vein pulsing beneath the frozen surface. The stones in the creek bed are held fast, cemented in place by the cold. The iron plow left in the furrow of the field is now a sculpture of silver and black. It stands motionless in the dirt, its work finished, its metal blade cooling down to match the temperature of the frozen earth. The forest is a cathedral of silence. The pine trees hold their breath, their needles stiff and still, waiting for the dawn that is still hours away. Far to the south, the air remains thick and warm, refusing to cool. The humidity is a blanket that traps the scent of the river and the swamp. The Spanish moss hangs from the live oaks, like heavy gray curtains, motionless in the damp air. It absorbs the sound, muffling the night. The river is a wide, dark road that moves without feet. It slides past the city, pressing against the clay of the levee with a steady, relentless weight. The water is full of silt, heavy and brown, carrying the earth of the continent down to the sea. On the wooden docks, the condensation gathers on the ropes, making them slick and heavy. The riverboats are sleeping giants, their paddle wheels still, their boilers cold. The fire is out, the steam has vanished. There is only the smell of wet wood and old water, a scent that is ancient and deep. The moonlight in Rome shifts imperceptibly across the face of the stone. It illuminates the cracks in the marble, the weathering of the centuries. The travertine columns of the ancient courts are cool to the touch, their rough surfaces holding the chill of the night. The shadows they cast are long and thin, stretching across the empty plazas like the hands of a ghost. The city is a vast open-air museum where the exhibits are sleeping. The noise of the traffic, the shouting of the crowds, the commerce of the empire, it has all evaporated. What remains is the mineral silence of the earth. The 7 hills are dark mounds against the star field. The pine trees on the Palatine Hill stand in silhouette, watching over the ruins of the palaces. They do not move, they do not judge, they simply witness the slow, quiet passage of the night. In the fields of France, the wind has died down completely. The wheat stands upright, stiff and dry, a sea of golden stalks that has frozen in the moonlight. The silence here is crisp and dry, smelling of straw and dust. The yellow house is a dark box, sealed against the night. Inside, the colors on the canvas have retreated into the shadows. The vibrant blues and burning yellows are now shades of gray and black, resting until the light returns to wake them. The cypress tree by the road is a dark flame that does not flicker. Its tip points to the stars, connecting the earth to the sky. The roots of the olive trees grip the limestone soil, drinking in the quiet. The world here feels paused, as if the painter has stepped back from the easel to take a long, slow breath. You are suspended in this pause. The silence of the forest, the weight of the river, the cool of the stone, and the stillness of the wheat, they are all woven together into a single dark tapestry. It wraps around you, soft and protective. The gravity of the earth pulls you down, anchoring you to the bed, anchoring you to the moment. There is no need to be anywhere else. The world is taking care of itself. The stars are turning, the earth is spinning, the water is flowing. All of it happens without effort, in the deep, effortless quiet of the night. You are free to let go, to drift on the surface of this vast, dark ocean, moving slowly, gently, deeper into the rest.
The drift is slow and steady, a gentle current that pulls you further away from the waking world. In the frozen woods of the Pennsylvania frontier, the night has reached its deepest point. The frost has grown thicker, forming a second skin over the rough bark of the hemlocks. It glitters faintly in the starlight, a coating of diamond dust that seals the forest in silence. The air is so cold it feels solid, a wall of crystal that holds everything in place. The ground is hard as iron. Deep beneath the frozen crust, the roots of the great trees are motionless,
gripping the earth with an ancient strength. They are not drinking, they are not growing, they are simply existing, waiting out the long, dark hours with the patience of wood and stone. The cabin is a dark island in this sea of white. The heavy door is barred against the cold. Inside, the silence is thick and warm, smelling of wood smoke and wool. The sleepers do not move. They are part of the stillness, anchored to the floor of the night. Drifting south, the atmosphere changes, becoming heavy and wet. The fog on the delta has stopped moving. It hangs suspended over the river, a curtain of white vapor that hides the water from the sky. The Mississippi flows beneath it, unseen and unheard. It is a massive, dark force sliding toward the Gulf with a slow hydraulic power. The water presses against the mud of the banks, cool and heavy. In the city, the dampness has seeped into the brickwork of the old cottages. The walls are cool to the touch, sweating in the humidity. The ferns in the hidden courtyards are heavy with dew, their fronds bending low under the weight of the water. The air smells of wet clay and river silt, a deep, earthy scent that belongs to the bottom of the world. The iron gates are locked, the shutters are drawn. The city is a secret kept by the fog, hidden away until the morning. In the ancient heart of the empire, the moon has begun its descent toward the horizon. The light has shifted, lengthening the shadows of the columns until they stretch across the entire width of the forum. The stone is gray and ghostly in the fading light. The marble steps of the temples are cold, retaining no memory of the sun. The air is dry and still, undisturbed by any breeze. The cypress trees on the hill stand like dark fingers, motionless against the paling sky. They watch over the ruins with a silent, stoic vigil. The aqueducts in the distance are dark lines drawn across the plain, silent carriers of water that flow without ceasing. The city is a landscape of texture, rough stone, mooned marble, dry grass, and cool air. It is a place of absolute rest, where the history is locked inside the rock, sleeping alongside the citizens. The wind in the French Valley has vanished completely. The wheat fields are a motionless ocean of pale gold. Every stalk stands perfectly still, as if painted into the landscape. The yellow house is a dark square of silence. The window is a blank eye. Inside, the smell of turpentine has faded, replaced by the scent of the cooling night air. The canvas on the easel is a shadow in the corner, its colors muted and asleep. The energy of the brushstrokes has settled. The olive trees in the garden are twisted shapes of black and silver, their leaves hanging limp in the stillness. The earth is dry and crumbly, holding the heat of the past summer deep within its layers. The stars above are steady points of light, watching the world turn with a cold, distant perfection. You are floating in the center of this quiet. The cold of the forest, the damp of the river, the dry stone of the ruin, and the stillness of the wheat, they are all around you. You can feel the weight of the earth, steady and sure. It pulls you down gently, sinking you into the mattress, sinking you into the deep, velvet dark. There is no resistance, there is no effort. The silence is a physical thing, a soft blanket that covers you completely. The rhythm of the world is your rhythm, slow, deep, calm. The night stretches out in every direction, a vast, peaceful kingdom where nothing needs to be done. You are safe here. You are held here. The darkness is endless, and the rest is deep. The stillness is not merely a lack of sound. It is a physical weight, a heavy, comforting blanket that has settled over the sleeping earth. In the Pennsylvania hills, the cold has deepened into a profound freeze. The moisture in the air has crystallized, turning the world into a sculpture of ice and shadow. The branches of the hemlock trees are coated in white, bending slightly under the delicate weight. They do not snap, they do not move. They simply hold the burden of the winter night with a quiet strength. The creek is silent now, the trickling water sealed beneath a thick pane of clear ice. Underneath, the water flows in darkness, sliding over the smooth stones without a whisper. The cabin stands firm against the silence. The heavy logs are cold to the touch, their rough bark frosted silver. Inside, the air is still and calm. The rhythm of breath is the only movement, rising and falling, a slow pulse in the heart of the winter. The atmosphere shifts as the mind drifts south, becoming thick and laden with water. The fog on the delta has erased the stars. The sky is a low ceiling of gray mist that touches the tops of the cypress trees. The Spanish moss hangs motionless, heavy with the dampness of the river. It does not sway, it simply exists, a gray veil drawn across the forest. The river itself is a dark, moving solid. It slides past the city with a terrifying, silent power, pushing against the earth of the levee. The scent of the water is strong here, a smell of mud and deep currents and ancient soil. In the narrow streets of the city, the moisture clings to the brick walls. The iron lanterns are slick with dew. The light they cast is fuzzy and dim, struggling to penetrate the heavy air. The silence is muffled, wrapped in layers of water vapor, softening every edge and dampening every echo. Across the vast, dark ocean, the silence becomes dry and clear. The Roman night is a vacuum of sound. The air is thin and cool, allowing the moonlight to touch the stone with absolute clarity. The marble columns of the ancient temples stand like bones against the black sky. They are bleached white by the moon, their fluted surfaces holding deep, vertical shadows. The wind has abandoned the city. The dust of the Forum lies undisturbed on the paving stones. The statues of the gods and emperors look out with blank eyes, seeing only the slow rotation of the stars. The fountains are still pools of black water, reflecting the constellations without a ripple. The city feels eternal in this light, a place where time has stopped moving, where the past and the present are locked together in the stone. In the quiet fields of France, the earth is dry and crumbling. The roots of the wheat go deep, searching for moisture in the chalky soil. The stalks are brittle and pale, standing in neat rows that stretch to the horizon. They do not rustle. They are frozen in a golden silence. The yellow house is a dark shape at the edge of the village. The shutters are closed tight, sealing the room against the night. Inside, the smell of turpentine and dried paint hangs in the still air. The canvas on the easel is a square of shadow, its violent colors subdued by the dark. The cypress tree by the road is a black flame, motionless and tall. It points upward, a dark finger connecting the sleeping earth to the turning sky. The olive trees are twisted knots of wood, their silver leaves holding the moonlight. They are old and patient, waiting for the sun that is hours away. You are floating through these textures, held by the gravity of the night. The ice of the forest, the mist of the river, the marble of the city, the dry straw of the field. They are all distinct, yet they are all one. The darkness connects them. It wraps around the globe, smoothing out the differences, quieting the noise. You are part of this continuity. You are anchored to the bed, but your mind is free to drift on the slow, dark current. The peace is absolute. The stillness is deep. There is nothing to do. There is nowhere to go. The world is sleeping, and you are sleeping with it, carried gently through the hours of the dark.
The hours of the night are long and unhurried, stretching out like a vast, calm sea. There is no shore in sight, only the gentle, rhythmic rise and fall of the darkness. In the deep woods of the frontier, the cold has settled into the very grain of the world. It has seeped through the bark of the pine trees, quieting the sap, slowing the life of the forest to a standstill. The needles of the hemlock are stiff with frost, coated in a delicate silver armor. The hours of the night are long and unhurried, stretching out like a vast, calm sea. There is no shore in sight, only the gentle, rhythmic rise and fall of the darkness. In the deep woods of the frontier, the cold has settled into the very grain of the world. It has seeped through the bark of the pine trees, quieting the sap, slowing the life of the forest to a standstill. The needles of the hemlock are stiff with frost, coated in a delicate silver armor that glitters faintly in the starlight. The air is motionless. It hangs between the trunks of the trees like a heavy, invisible curtain. The ground is hard, a solid floor of frozen earth and leaves that holds the silence. Inside the cabin, the heavy timbers of the walls creak softly, a low, settling sound that speaks of shelter and endurance. The warmth of the sleepers is a small, protected island in the vast ocean of the winter night. The current of the imagination drifts south, finding the heavy, humid embrace of the delta. The fog has thickened, becoming a physical presence that wraps around the city. It softens the sharp edges of the iron fences and blurs the lines of the rooftops. The dampness is everywhere. It drips from the leaves of the magnolia trees, landing on the mossy bricks of the courtyard with a soft, repetitive tap. The sound is hypnotic, a slow metronome counting down the seconds of the night. The river is wide and dark, a massive volume of water moving silently toward the sea. It pushes against the clay of the banks, heavy with the weight of the continent. The smell of the water is rich and earthy, a scent of mud and ancient soil that fills the heavy air. The city is submerged in this atmosphere, sleeping at the bottom of a humid ocean, safe and still. Across the great distance of the sea, the Roman night is dry and clear. The moon has climbed high above the city, casting a pale, cold light on the stones of the empire. The marble columns of the Forum stand like bleached bones against the black sky. They are cool to the touch, their surfaces smoothed by the wind of 2,000 years. The shadows are sharp and deep, pools of absolute blackness
that lie behind the arches and beneath the porticos. The air is thin and crisp. It carries no moisture, only the faint, dry scent of dust and old stone. The statues on the roof of the basilica look out over the empty square with blank white eyes. They do not blink, they do not move. They are the guardians of the stillness, watching the slow rotation of the stars with the patience of rock. In the quiet valley of Provence, the wind has held its breath. The wheat fields are a sea of pale straw, frozen in the moonlight. The stalks stand perfectly straight, their heads bowed slightly under the weight of the night. There is no rustling, there is no movement. The field is a painting of silence, vast and golden and still. The yellow house at the edge of the village is dark. The shutters are closed tight, sealing the room against the night air. Inside, the smell of turpentine has settled into the floorboards. The canvas on the easel is a square of shadow, the vibrant colors of the day muted by the darkness. The cypress tree by the road is a dark spire, a silhouette of black flame that points to the heavens. The roots of the olive trees grip the dry, chalky soil, holding fast to the earth while the world turns slowly through the dark. You are floating in the center of this vast, interconnected silence. The cold of the forest, the damp of the river, the dry stone of the ruin, and the stillness of the wheat field are all present in the room with you. They are heavy blankets of texture and sensation, layering over you, pressing you gently into the mattress. The gravity of the earth is a comforting weight. It anchors you. It holds you safe. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. The rhythm of the world is slow and steady, a deep pulse that beats in the ground and in the air. You are part of that pulse. You are part of the quiet. The night stretches on, endless and serene, a deep, dark river that carries you gently toward the peace of sleep.
The river of the night flows without a sound, winding its way through the landscape of your mind. In the southern delta, the water of the Mississippi has become a surface of polished obsidian. It reflects nothing but the dark void of the sky above. The fog has settled low against the water, a heavy white blanket that muffles the world. It creeps into the cypress swamps, weaving between the knees of the great trees. The moss hangs limp and heavy, dripping with the moisture of the humid night. The crickets have slowed their song to a rhythmic, drowsy chirp. The air is thick, pressing gently against the skin, warm and wet. It smells of deep mud and sleeping flowers, a scent that is ancient and enveloping. The city streets are empty tunnels of shadow. The gas lamps are dim halos in the mist, lighting the way for no one. The silence is profound, a deep underwater quiet that hushes every thought. Far away across the ocean, the air dries and thins. The Roman night is crisp and cold. The moon has moved behind the silhouette of the Palatine Hill, leaving the valley of the Forum in deep shadow. The stone columns lose their definition, becoming dark monoliths against the stars. The marble floor is cool, holding the chill of the earth. There is no dust rising now. The wind has died completely. The ruins are silent sentinels, guarding the memory of the empire. The arches of the aqueduct stretch across the plain like a sleeping serpent of stone.
The water inside them flows with a steady, hushed rush, a sound of movement that never ends, yet never disturbs the peace. The city feels heavy, anchored to the ground by the weight of its history. It is a place of stone and shadow, resting under the watchful eye of the constellations. In the quiet valley of France, the night has deepened the colors of the earth. The wheat fields are no longer gold, but a pale, ghostly silver under the starlight. The stalks stand motionless, a vast army of silence. The yellow house is a dark cube, its edges softening in the gloom. Inside, the room is still. The smell of oil paint has faded, replaced by the cool, dry scent of the night air coming through the cracks. The canvas is a resting surface, the chaos of the brushstrokes calmed by the lack of light. The cypress tree by the road is a dark vertical line, a brushstroke of black ink against the indigo sky. The roots of the olive trees grip the limestone, holding fast. They do not move, they do not tremble, they simply exist, drinking in the peace of the dark hours. To the west, in the frozen woods of the frontier, the cold is a physical presence. It has turned the moisture in the air into diamond dust that hangs suspended in the dark. The creek is locked in ice, a ribbon of white winding through the black trees. The water beneath moves secretly, a hidden pulse in the frozen earth. The logs of the cabin are solid and dark, a fortress against the winter. The frost on the window pane is thick, blurring the view of the forest outside. Inside, the warmth is concentrated, held close by the heavy quilts and the thick walls. The breathing of the sleepers is the only clock, a slow, steady measure of the passing time. The fire is a bed of gray ash, its heat retreating into the stone. The world here is stopped, held in the suspended animation of the deep freeze. You are drifting through these places, carried by the slow tide of the night, the humidity of the river, the dry cool of the stone, the stillness of the wheat, and the sharp cold of the frost. They are all textures of the silence. They wrap around you, layer by layer, insulating you from the waking world. The gravity of the earth feels stronger now, pulling you gently, sinking you into the softness of the bed. The darkness is a warm, heavy ocean. You are floating in its depths, weightless and free. There is no direction. There is no destination. There is only the feeling of being held, of being safe, of being part of the deep, slow rhythm of the sleeping world. The quiet stretches out forever, a vast, dark space where you can rest completely. In the deep stillness, the world seems to stop its spinning, hanging suspended in the velvet void of the night. Beneath the frozen ground of the Pennsylvania woods, the earth is solid and unyielding. The soil has hardened into a shell of iron and ice, protecting the life that sleeps within it. The roots of the great oaks and maples are locked in place, gripping the bedrock with a strength that does not need to move to be felt. Down in the burrows, hidden beneath layers of leaves and snow, the forest creatures are curled into tight balls of warmth. Their breathing is slow, barely disturbing the air. The heartbeat of the forest has slowed to a crawl. The wind has left the valley completely. The branches of the pines are statues of dark wood and silver frost, etched against the starlight. There is a sense of waiting here, a patience that stretches out over the long, cold hours, confident that the sun will eventually return, even if it feels miles away. Drifting down the long curve of the continent, the air grows heavy with the weight of water. The fog on the delta is no longer just a mist, it is a wall of soft gray cotton that dampens every sound. The Mississippi River moves through it like a dark dream. The surface of the water is smooth, an oily black mirror that reflects nothing but the fog itself. Deep below the surface, the current is strong and cold, sliding over the mud of the riverbed. It carries the silt of the north down to the sea, a silent, endless delivery of earth. In the city, the moisture gathers on the slate roofs, turning them slick and black. The gutters drip slowly, a rhythmic counting of the night. The courtyards are caves of shadow and scent. The smell of the wet bricks mixes with the heavy perfume of the jasmine, creating an atmosphere that is thick and drowsy. The iron gates are cold and wet. The city is sealed inside the fog, a secret world sleeping at the edge of the ocean. Across the vast, silent Atlantic, the Roman night is a study in stone and shadow. The moon has passed its zenith, beginning its slow descent toward the western horizon. The light has shifted, stretching the shadows of the columns until they merge with the darkness of the ground. The marble of the Forum is cool to the touch, releasing the last faint memory of the day's heat. The stone does not breathe, it does not change, it simply endures. The arches of the aqueduct stand like silent giants on the plain, their outlines sharp against the stars. The water that flows within them is hidden, a secret vein of life moving through the rock. The city feels empty, abandoned to the ghosts of the past. The cats that prowled the ruins have found their resting places on the warm stones, their eyes closed, their bodies still. The silence here is heavy with the weight of centuries, a quiet that has settled into the very foundations of the hills. In the fields of Provence, the night air is dry and still. The wheat field is a vast, motionless ocean of pale straw. The stalks stand shoulder to shoulder, a golden army sleeping under the stars. There is no rustle of wind, there is no cry of birds. The yellow house is quiet, a dark shape against the paler sky. Inside, the room is cool and peaceful. The easel stands in the corner, a wooden skeleton holding the sleeping canvas. The colors are hidden in the gloom, their energy dormant. The olive trees in the garden are twisted knots of ancient wood, their silver leaves motionless in the dark. They have seen 1,000 nights like this one. They know the rhythm of the earth. They are anchored to the limestone soil, drinking in the silence of the valley. The stars above are bright and cold, burning with a steady light that does not waver. This is the deep texture of the night. It is the hardness of the frozen ground, the wetness of the river fog, the coolness of the ancient stone, and the dryness of the sleeping field. These sensations are woven together into a single, heavy blanket that covers the world. It covers you. The gravity of the earth pulls you down gently, sinking you deeper into the mattress. You are safe. You are supported. The world is solid beneath you. The darkness is soft around you. There is no need to hold on. The earth is holding you. The rhythm of the night is slow and steady, a deep, quiet pulse that moves through the ground and the air. You are part of that pulse. You are drifting on the slow, dark tide of the hours, moving effortlessly toward the deep peace of sleep. The flow continues, gentle and unseen, moving through the quiet spaces between the stars. In the deep winter of the frontier, the silence has crystallized into something solid. The frost on the cabin window has grown thicker, layer upon layer of delicate ice blooming in the dark. It filters the moonlight, turning the room inside into a place of soft, gray shadows. The hearth is cold now. The ash is a pile of soft gray dust, holding the memory of a fire that burned hours ago. The iron kettle hanging above it is still, its metal surface dull and cool. The heavy wooden table stands in the center of the room, anchored by its own weight. It does not creak, it does not settle. It simply occupies the space, a testament to the stability of the home. Outside, the wilderness is a vast, frozen ocean. The trees are masts of black wood rising from a sea of white snow. The air is motionless, held in the grip of the freeze. There is no sound of life, only the deep, abiding presence of the winter, waiting for the sun. The current shifts, becoming warm and heavy as it drifts south. The fog on the river has swallowed the world. It wraps around the pilings of the dock, softening the wood with moisture. The Mississippi is a dark, sliding force that moves without a ripple. It carries the weight of the rain and the soil, pushing gently against the hull of a sleeping barge. The rope that ties the boat to the land is slack, dripping with heavy dew. In the city, the ironwork on the balconies glistens in the mist. The moisture clings to the intricate patterns of the metal, turning them into lace made of water and shadow. The brick walls of the narrow streets are cool and damp. They breathe out the scent of old clay and river mud. The silence here is not empty. It is full of the heavy, humid air that presses against the ears, muffling the distant pulse of the ocean. The city is a secret, hidden inside the cloud, resting at the bottom of the atmosphere. Across the curvature of the earth, the Roman night remains dry and vast. The moon has dipped lower, casting long, dramatic shadows across the floor of the Forum. The paving stones are cool islands in a sea of darkness. The dust that settled on them yesterday lies undisturbed. The marble columns of the Temple of Saturn stand in a silent row, their tops lost in the gloom. They have held the sky for 2,000 years, and they hold it still tonight. The air is thin and clear, smelling of dry grass and ancient mortar. The ruins are not sad, they are peaceful. They have outlasted the noise of the empire. They have outlasted the shouting of the crowds. Now they belong only to the night. The aqueducts on the plain are dark lines of geometry, carrying their hidden river to the city. The water flows with a steady, hushed sound, a liquid ribbon moving through the stone veins of the landscape. In the quiet valley of France, the night sky is a deep, swirling blue, painted with the heavy strokes of the stars. The wheat field below is a pale reflection of the heavens. The stalks are dry and brittle, standing perfectly still in the cool air. The ground is hard and chalky, white limestone showing through the soil. The yellow house is asleep, its windows dark squares that reveal nothing. Inside, the brushes are gathered in their jar, bristles pointing up like a small wooden forest. The paint on the palette has dried, the colors turning matte and dull in the darkness. The energy of creation has paused. The cypress tree by the gate is a black flame that does not burn. It stands rigid against the stars, a sentinel of the dark. The olive trees in the orchard are twisted shapes of silver and gray, their leaves motionless. They are drinking in the rest, gathering strength from the silence of the valley. You are floating in the space between these worlds. The hardness of the frozen ground, the wetness of the river fog, the coolness of the marble, and the dryness of the wheat field. They are all textures of the same deep peace. The darkness wraps around you, soft and heavy. The gravity of the earth is a gentle hand, holding you down, keeping you safe. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. The rhythm of the world is slow and steady. The earth turns, the stars drift, the water flows. You are part of this movement, carried effortlessly through the shadows. The night stretches on, infinite and kind, a vast, dark ocean where you can rest. This rest is deep and ancient, sinking down into the very bones of the landscape. In the Pennsylvania hills, the freeze has gone past the surface, penetrating the soil until it reaches the bedrock. The earth is locked tight. The roots of the sleeping maples are held in a grip of stone and ice, motionless in the dark. Above ground, the frost has climbed the windows of the cabin, thickening into a curtain of white lace that obscures the night. Inside, the darkness is total. The fire is gone. The warmth is a fading memory in the iron of the hearth. The heavy timbers of the roof settle with a sound like a slow exhale, adjusting to the weight of the cold. The silence is not just in the room, it is in the wood itself. The logs have stopped expanding, the sap has stopped moving. Everything has come to a complete and perfect stop, waiting in the stillness for a morning that feels an eternity away. The atmosphere softens and weighs heavier as the mind travels south. The fog on the delta has stopped drifting. It hangs suspended over the water, a cloud that has forgotten how to move. The Mississippi is a vast, silent presence sliding through the mist. It does not splash against the banks. It presses against them, a heavy, fluid weight moving with the slow certainty of gravity. The water is dark and opaque, hiding the depth of the channel. On the shore, the weeping willows are motionless, their long branches dipping into the damp air like fingers testing the water. The city is a place of wet stone and iron. The condensation runs down the lampposts in slow silver rivulets. The brick pavement is slick and black. The smell of the river is everywhere, a scent of wet clay and deep earth that fills the lungs with a drowsy, heavy calm. Across the sea, the Roman night remains clear and dry. The moon is a silver disk hanging low over the horizon, casting the city in sharp relief. The shadows of the aqueducts stretch out across the fields, long bars of darkness that measure the distance to the hills. The stone arches are cool to the touch, their surfaces rough and pitted by the wind. They stand in a silent line, marching toward the city without taking a step. The water inside them flows with a hushed, steady rush, a sound that is part of the silence. The forum is empty. The dust lies still on the ancient paving stones. The columns of the temples are bleached white by the starlight, standing like trees in a petrified forest. The air is thin and cool, carrying the faint, dry scent of pine needles and old mortar. The city rests under the weight of its history, anchored to the earth by the heavy stone. In the valley of Provence, the night has turned the wheat fields into a sea of silver straw. The stalks are brittle and dry, standing perfectly still in the cool air. The ground is hard, white limestone showing through the thin soil. The yellow house is a dark silhouette against the stars. The windows are closed tight. The room inside is silent, the air still and heavy. The easel stands in the corner, a wooden frame holding a square of darkness. The colors on the canvas have retreated into the shadows, their vibrancy sleeping until the light returns. The cypress tree by the road is a black spire, rigid and tall. It points to the zenith, a dark connection between the earth and the sky. The olive trees in the garden are twisted shapes of gray wood, their leaves motionless. They are drinking in the quiet, gathering strength from the deep peace of the valley. You are held in this suspension, the hardness of the frozen ground, the wetness of the river fog, the coolness of the marble, and the dryness of the wheat field. They are all around you, textures of the night that wrap you in safety. The gravity of the earth is gentle and constant. It pulls you down, settling you into the softness of the bed. There is no resistance. There is no effort. The silence is a physical thing, a soft, heavy blanket that covers you completely. The rhythm of the world is slow and steady. The earth turns, the stars drift, the water flows. You are part of this movement, carried effortlessly through the shadows. The night stretches on, infinite and kind, a vast, dark ocean where you can rest.
The darkness here is soft and permeable, a medium that holds you without confining you. It is vast enough to contain the silence of the entire world. In the frozen woods of the Pennsylvania frontier, the night has settled into a deep, crystalline stasis. The frost has not just coated the surface of things, it has become part of the structure of the forest. The needles of the pine trees are encased in clear, delicate sheaths of ice. They do not bend in the wind because there is no wind. The air is locked in place, solid and still. The barn stands as a dark shape against the snow, its wooden walls absorbing the moonlight. Inside, the iron tools hang on the walls, cold and heavy. The metal has lost all its heat, becoming as temperatureless as the winter air. The plowshare resting in the corner is a shadow of steel, its work forgotten. The silence in the barn is heavy with the scent of dry hay and old wood, a stillness that has gathered in the corners for years. The current of the night moves slowly south, turning to mist and water. The fog on the delta has become a landscape of its own, a white world that erases the boundaries between the river and the sky. The Mississippi flows through it with a terrifying, silent mass. It is not water that splashes or plays, it is water that pushes. It slides past the city of New Orleans with a heavy, oil-slick surface that reflects nothing. The humidity is a weight on the chest, a warm, wet blanket that smells of the swamp and the deep earth. In the courtyards, the fountains have been turned off, but the basins are full of dark water. A single leaf floats on the surface, motionless. It does not drift. It does not sink. It simply rests there, held by the tension of the water. The iron balconies above drip slowly, counting the seconds of the night in a rhythm that is too slow to measure. Across the ocean, the air dries out, becoming thin and ancient. The Roman night is a vacuum of sound, clear and cold. The moon illuminates the paving stones of the Appian Way, turning them into a ribbon of pale gray that stretches into the darkness. These stones are smooth, polished by the sandals of legions and the wheels of carts that have long since turned to dust. Now they are empty. The grass growing between the cracks is still. The tombs that line the road are houses of shadow, their doors sealed against the centuries. The city walls in the distance are a jagged line of black against the stars. There is no smoke rising from the chimneys. There is no light in the windows. The empire is asleep, its ambition cooled into the quiet of the stone. The marble columns of the temple stand like white bones, stripped of their color, holding up the roof of the night. In the valley of Provence, the earth is dry and crumbling. The roots of the wheat go deep into the limestone soil, searching for the memory of rain. The stalks are brittle and pale, standing in vast, silent ranks under the sky. The yellow house is a dark cube at the edge of the village, its color drained away by the lack of sun. The window is a black square, a frame around the darkness. Inside, the room is cool and smells of linseed oil and dry lavender. The canvas on the easel is sleeping. The blue swirls of the sky and the bright gold of the stars are hidden in the gloom, waiting for the morning to give them life again. The cypress tree by the gate is a rigid shape, a dark flame that does not flicker. It points straight up, connecting the heavy earth to the turning stars. The world here feels paused, suspended in the moment before the next breath. You are floating in this suspension, held by the gravity of the sleeping world. The ice of the forest, the fog of the river, the stone of the road, and the dry straw of the field. They are all textures of the same silence. They wrap around you, soft and heavy, insulating you from the noise of the day. The earth turns slowly beneath you, a massive, steady cradle. You do not need to hold on. You do not need to let go. You are simply here, drifting on the surface of the dark ocean. The peace is absolute. The rest is deep. The night stretches out in every direction, endless and kind, a vast, quiet space where you are safe to sleep. The safety of this space is absolute, a sanctuary built from the quiet hours of the night. In the frozen woods of the Pennsylvania frontier, the cold has become a form of preservation. It holds the forest in a perfect, motionless state. The frost that coats the fallen logs is thick and white, a layer of diamond dust that does not melt. The bark of the oak trees is hard as stone, protecting the sleeping wood beneath. Under the ground, deep below the frost line, the earth is dark and silent. It cradles the roots of the forest, holding them in a firm, steady grip. The creek is a ribbon of silence. The ice on its surface is thick and clear, a window into the stillness below.
The water moves without sound, a dark vein of life that flows in secret. The cabin is a warm heart in the center of the cold. The heavy door is barred, the windows are frosted over. The world outside has ceased to exist for the sleepers inside. There is only the warmth of the quilt, the smell of the wood, and the deep, slow rhythm of rest. Drifting south, the air grows heavy and soft, laden with the weight of the river. The fog on the delta is a living thing, a white creature that breathes slowly against the water. The Mississippi is a vast, dark presence. It moves with a terrifying, silent power, sliding toward the ocean without a ripple. The water is thick with silt, heavy with the memory of the continent. It presses against the muddy banks, a fluid weight that never lifts. In the city, the humidity clings to everything. The iron gates of the cemeteries are slick with dew. The stone angels glisten in the mist, their wings heavy with moisture. The ferns in the garden grow in the dark, unfurling their leaves in the damp air. The smell is rich and sweet, a perfume of wet earth and night-blooming jasmine that fills the lungs with calm. The silence here is muffled, wrapped in layers of cotton-white fog. It is a silence that insulates, that protects, that drowns out the noise of time. Across the curvature of the earth, the Roman night is a study in clarity. The air is dry and thin, allowing the starlight to touch the ground without interference. The moon hangs high above the Palatine Hill, a cold, silver eye that watches the sleeping city. The marble of the temples is bleached white, glowing faintly against the black sky. The columns cast long, sharp shadows that stretch across the paving stones. The dust of the centuries lies undisturbed. The wind has fallen asleep. The ruins are not empty, they are full of peace. The aqueducts stand on the plain like a line of silent giants holding hands in the dark. The water inside them flows with a steady, hushed rush, a sound that has not changed in 2,000 years. It is the heartbeat of the empire, slow and constant. The city feels anchored to the earth, held down by the weight of its own history. In the quiet valley of France, the night has drained the world of its heat. The wheat fields are a sea of pale silver, frozen in the moonlight. The stalks stand perfectly still, a vast army of silence. The ground is dry and chalky, holding the coolness of the night. The yellow house is a dark shape against the stars. The windows are black squares that reveal nothing. Inside, the room is still. The smell of oil paint has faded, replaced by the clean, dry scent of the night air. The canvas on the easel is a shadow in the corner, its violent colors subdued by the dark. The cypress tree by the road is a black flame that points to the zenith. It does not flicker, it does not move. The olive trees in the orchard are twisted knots of ancient wood, their leaves motionless. They are drinking in the rest, gathering strength from the silence of the valley. You are woven into this tapestry of quiet, the ice of the forest, the fog of the river, the stone of the city, and the dry straw of the field. They are all textures of the same deep peace. They wrap around you, layer by layer, soft and heavy. The gravity of the earth is a gentle hand, holding you down, keeping you safe. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. The rhythm of the world is slow and steady. The earth turns, the stars drift, the water flows. You are part of this movement, carried effortlessly through the shadows. The night stretches on, infinite and kind, a vast dark ocean where you can rest. The silence is deep, the peace is absolute. You are safe here, floating in the dark, drifting deeper and deeper into the quiet.
The drift continues downward, moving past the surface of dreams into the bedrock of deep rest. In the Pennsylvania woods, the night has become a heavy, solid thing. The frost is no longer just a coating, it feels like the air itself has turned to glass. The branches of the hemlock trees are held in a suspension of crystal, unmoving against the black sky. The silence is absolute. It presses against the rough logs of the cabin, sealing the warmth inside. Beneath the floorboards, the earth is frozen hard, a foundation of iron and ice that supports the sleeping house. The tools in the barn are dark shapes in the gloom. The metal of the axe head is cold and dormant, its edge dulled by the shadows. The woodpile is a fortress of stored heat, waiting for the morning. But morning is a distant concept here. There is only the long, slow duration of the freeze, a time when the world stops growing and simply holds its ground. The current carries you south, where the air turns soft and wet. The fog on the river has thickened into a white ocean. It fills the streets of the city, erasing the corners and the roof lines until only the gray mist remains. The Mississippi moves through this void with a massive, silent weight. It does not look like water. It looks like dark oil sliding over the clay. The current is deep and cold, pulling toward the sea with a force that is felt rather than seen. In the courtyards, the dampness settles on the leaves of the ferns, weighing them down. The stone angels in the cemetery are weeping with condensation, silver tears tracking slowly down their marble faces. The iron gates are slick and cold. The smell of the river is everywhere, a scent of ancient mud and deep, sleeping water. The city is a diver at the bottom of the sea, moving in slow motion, muffled by the pressure of the night. Across the Atlantic, the air clears and thins, becoming crisp and dry. The Roman night is a vast dome of silence. The moon has moved behind the Temple of Vesta, casting the circular ruins into deep shadow. The stone columns are pale ghosts, standing watch over the empty forum. The marble floor is cool, radiating the chill of the earth back up to the stars. There is no dust rising now. The wind has settled completely. The city feels timeless, a place where the clocks have all stopped. The aqueducts on the plain are dark lines of geometry, carrying their hidden river to the sleeping fountains. The water flows with a steady, hushed rush, a sound that is so constant it becomes part of the silence. The statues look out with blank eyes, seeing only the darkness. They are patient, they have waited for centuries, and they can wait for the dawn. In the quiet valley of France, the earth is dry and crumbling. The roots of the wheat go deep into the limestone soil, searching for moisture. The stalks are brittle and pale, standing in vast, silent ranks under the starlight. The yellow house is a dark cube at the edge of the village. The shutters are closed tight, sealing the room against the night air. Inside, the smell of turpentine and dried lavender hangs in the stillness. The canvas on the easel is a square of shadow, the violent colors of the day subdued by the dark. The cypress tree by the road is a black flame that does not flicker. It points straight up, connecting the heavy earth to the turning stars. The olive trees in the orchard are twisted knots of ancient wood, their leaves motionless. They are drinking in the rest, gathering strength from the silence of the valley. You are floating in this vast, interconnected peace. The ice of the forest, the fog of the river, the stone of the city, and the dry straw of the field. They are all textures of the same deep silence. They wrap around you, layer by layer, insulating you from the waking world. The gravity of the earth is a gentle hand, holding you down, keeping you safe. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. The rhythm of the world is slow and steady. The earth turns, the stars drift, the water flows. You are part of this movement, carried effortlessly through the shadows. The night stretches on, infinite and kind, a vast dark ocean where you can rest. The silence is deep. The peace is absolute. You are safe here, floating in the dark, drifting deeper and deeper into the quiet.
The sensation of drifting is weightless, a slow separation from the pull of the day. In the deep winter of the frontier, the silence has moved underground. Beneath the floor of the cabin, the earth is a solid block of cold. The frost line has pushed deep, past the topsoil, past the clay, locking the stones in a grip of ice. The roots of the great trees are dormant, their sap slowed to a standstill, waiting in the dark for a signal that is months away. Above, the roof beams of the cabin hold the weight of the night without a sound. The wood is old and seasoned, cured by years of smoke and winter air. It smells of resin and dry timber, a scent of safety. The fire is a memory in the ash. The iron pot is cold. The heavy quilt is the only source of warmth, a soft island in the sea of the freeze. The world outside is halted, suspended in the perfection of the ice, watching the stars turn with a cold, clear gaze. The mind floats southward, carried by the slow current of the imagination to the humid delta. The fog here is a physical embrace. It wraps around the street lamps, turning their light into soft, glowing orbs that illuminate nothing but the mist itself. The air is heavy with water, pressing gently against the skin. The Mississippi River is a wide, dark avenue of silence. It moves with a terrifying mass, sliding past the city without a splash, without a ripple. The water is slick and black, holding the heat of the continent in its depths. On the iron balconies, the condensation gathers in heavy drops. They fall slowly to the pavement, marking time in a rhythm too slow to count. The smell of the river is rich and earthy, a scent of wet mud and sleeping vegetation. The city is hidden inside the cloud, muffled and safe, resting at the bottom of the heavy air. Across the ocean, the atmosphere dries and sharpens. The Roman night is a vast open dome of clarity. The moon casts the ruins in stark relief, painting the marble white and the shadows black. The columns of the ancient temples stand like bones against the sky, stripped of their color, holding up the roof of the night. The stone is cool to the touch, polished by the wind of 2,000 years. There is no dust rising. There is no sound of traffic. The Forum is a garden of silence, where the statues watch the darkness with blank stone eyes. The aqueducts on the plain are dark lines of geometry, carrying their hidden river to the sleeping fountains. The water flows with a steady, hushed rush, a sound that is so constant It becomes the texture of the silence itself. The city feels eternal, anchored to the earth by the weight of its own history. In the quiet valley of France, the night has drained the color from the world. The wheat fields are a sea of pale straw, frozen in the moonlight. The stalks stand perfectly still, dry and brittle, waiting for the dew. The ground is hard and chalky, holding the coolness of the night. The yellow house is a dark square at the edge of the village. The shutters are closed tight, sealing the room against the dark. Inside, the air is still and smells of dry lavender and old wood. The canvas on the easel is a shadow in the corner, the violent energy of the paint subdued by the gloom. The cypress tree by the road is a black flame that does not flicker. It points to the stars, a dark connection between the earth and the sky. The olive trees in the garden are twisted shapes of silver and gray, their leaves motionless. They are drinking in the rest, gathering strength from the deep peace of the valley. You are held in this suspension, floating between the worlds, the ice of the forest, the fog of the river, the stone of the city, and the dry straw of the field. They are all textures of the same deep peace. They wrap around you, soft and heavy, insulating you from the noise of the day. The gravity of the earth is a gentle hand, holding you down, keeping you safe. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. The rhythm of the world is slow and steady. The earth turns, the stars drift, the water flows. You are part of this movement, carried effortlessly through the shadows. The night stretches on, infinite and kind, a vast dark ocean where you can rest. The silence is deep, the peace is absolute. You are safe here, floating in the dark, drifting deeper and deeper into the quiet.